They thought she was just another transfer kid, quiet, polite, barely noticeable. The kind of student teachers forget to call on and classmates forget to include. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't even imagine, was that Maya Henderson didn't come to North Hill High to blend in. She came because she had to. And what happened next? Yeah, nobody saw that coming. It started like this. First day, third period, American Literature, room 209. Maya walked in like a ghost, backpack clutched tight, curls pulled back neat, uniform ironed crisp. She didn't speak much, didn't need to. The room did the talking for her. Eyes glanced up, then away. Whispered comments. New girl. Kinda stuck up. Look at her acting all proper. You know the drill. But the real chill came from the front of the room. Ms. Dolores Whitman. Picture a woman who smiled like she didn't mean it, whose tone was always polite, but never warm. You know that kind of teacher, the ones who don't yell but somehow make you feel 2 inches tall anyway. And from the jump, Ms. Whitman had it out for Maya, not in a loud, obvious way. Oh no, this was subtle, surgical, like when Maya raised her hand during a class discussion on To Kill a Mockingbird and said, in that steady, thoughtful voice, "This book isn't just about one man's trial, it's about how communities protect injustice when it benefits the powerful." The room went still. A couple kids shifted in their seats. One boy even smirked. And Ms. Whitman, she froze, then smiled that same tight smile and said, "Let's not turn this into a political rant, Ms. Henderson." Boom. Just like that. The message was clear. Stay in your lane. But Maya? She didn't flinch, didn't argue, just nodded. "Yes, ma'am," and kept her chin up. Still, the air in that classroom? It thickened like smoke. Every day after that, it was something. A jab about her handwriting, a comment about tone when she read aloud, group projects where no one wanted to work with her, and worst of all, that awful nickname whispered in the halls, Little Miss Woke. Yeah, that happened. By Friday, even kids who'd smiled at her on day one were turning away. And still, Maya showed up. Sat in that same seat, back straight, eyes forward. She wrote essays that made the text bleed truth. And every time, Ms. Whitman marked them down for being too emotional, off topic, not academically neutral. Which is funny, because when Tyler wrote a paragraph calling Atticus Finch the real victim, he got an A- and a gold star. Now here's where it gets interesting. One afternoon, Maya came home, tossed her bag down, and sat at the kitchen table. Her dad walked in, loosened his tie, noticed the silence. Didn't ask questions, just put a cup of tea next to her and waited. That's when Maya told him. Not the whole story, just enough. And when he asked calmly, "What's your teacher's name?" she whispered, "Ms. Whitman." Her dad nodded, stood up, said 5 words that changed everything. "I'll handle it, don't worry." Now her dad wasn't just anyone. He was Dr. Charles Henderson, principal of North Hill High, new to the district. Quiet man, tall, measured. The kind of leader people underestimated because he didn't raise his voice. That Monday morning, room 209 felt different. Students sensed it before he even walked in. Ms. Whitman had just clapped her hands for attention when the door creaked open, and in stepped Dr. Henderson. Let me tell you, every head turned. Pencils stopped mid-word. Even Maya blinked. Just once. But she didn't smile, didn't gloat. She just sat taller. Ms. Whitman's face. Wow. At first, she didn't even recognize him. She saw a tall black man in a navy suit and assumed maybe he was a parent, maybe someone lost. Then he said, "Ms. Whitman, I believe we should talk, privately." And her whole body stiffened like someone had pulled the rug out from under her. You could have heard a pin drop as they walked out together. Now, we don't know exactly what was said behind closed doors, but later, in the admin office, things got real. Ms. Whitman defended herself like only a cornered bigot can, claimed Maya was too passionate, disruptive, focused on race instead of literature, even suggested Maya wasn't prepared for this academic environment. That's when Dr. Henderson leaned forward and asked calmly, "Is her academic performance lacking?" Ms. Whitman stuttered, "No, but..." And then she said it. "She lacks the kind of background necessary to thrive here." That's when the ice cracked. Dr. Henderson didn't yell. He just stood up and said, "Ignorance doesn't make you innocent, it makes you dangerous." Then he added, "I'll be sitting in on your next class. Let's see how you teach when someone's actually watching. Next day, room 209 was electric. Ms. Whitman tried to keep it together, but her voice was tight. Her hands shook when she wrote on the board. And the lecture? Robotic, empty, like someone reading a script underwater. And when Maya was called to present her project, oh man, she owned that room. She spoke clearly, powerfully, drew lines between fiction and the world they all lived in, cited Baldwin, Morrison, real-life stats, but not loud, not angry, calm, like a lighthouse cutting through fog. And the class? They heard her. Later that week, Ms. Whitman was placed on administrative leave. Some kids couldn't believe it. Others just nodded. No one clapped. No one cried. It was like watching a story finish the way it should have ended from the start. But here's the twist. A few days after Whitman left, Maya was sitting alone at lunch when Grace, one of the girls who'd always looked the other way, walked up and said, "I'm sorry." Not fake, not performative, real. Said she saw it all. Said she should have spoken up. Maya just nodded and said, "That's changing now." And it did. Because that Friday, something wild happened. Maya got called to the auditorium, thought it was about her project. Instead, they handed her a letter, a speech request. Turns out the school was holding a community forum on inclusion, and they wanted her to speak. And that night, Maya stepped on stage in front of the whole school, teachers, students, parents. And she told the truth. She said, "I didn't come here to be a symbol. I came here to learn, but I refuse to disappear." Her voice didn't shake. Her message? Crystal. She spoke about silence and what it costs, about being talked at instead of listened to, about what real equity looks like, not slogans on posters but actions in classrooms. And when she finished, the place erupted. I'm talking standing ovation, tears, laughter. People who'd never even looked at her were now leaning in, clapping like they finally got it. That speech, it didn't end the problem, but it lit a spark. And sometimes, all you need is a spark. So yeah, Maya Henderson didn't just survive North Hill High. She shifted it, walked those halls with her head high, not because they gave her space, but because she took it. And when she finally left that school at the end of the year, she didn't look back. She didn't have to. Because the next girl who walks into room 209, she won't be invisible. Now it's your turn. What would you have done in that classroom? Ever witnessed something like this and stayed silent? Or maybe you spoke up when it counted. Drop a comment below. We want to hear your take. Let's talk about what real accountability looks like. Because yeah, it starts with one voice. Maybe that voice is yours.